From the outset, a lot of the war in Ukraine has been waged using unmanned vehicles. On the Ukrainian side, immediately following the invasion, the use of Turkish-made Bayraktar UAVs was very effective in stymieing the Russian advance of tanks and supply trucks, and later, the use of hovering UAVs against troops dug in on the front lines was equally effective. Now the Ukrainian Security Service has just revealed another form of unmanned vehicle, this one seaborne. The head of the SBU, Vasyl Malyuk, told CNN they've been using a drone called a Sea Baby. The Sea Baby is the result of months of development that began just after the invasion, and Malyuk emphasized that these sea surface drones are what he called a, quote, unique invention of the Security Service of Ukraine that didn't involve any private companies, end quote. The Sea Baby basically looks like your average ski boat and is powered like one. The engine is jet-powered instead of propeller-driven, which makes it fast and relatively quiet. It's capable of upwards of 60 miles an hour, which makes it faster than any Russian warship currently operating on the Black Sea. And most importantly, it can carry as much as 1,900 pounds of explosives. It's not clear whether the explosives are triggered by the drone operator or impact with the target. The operator uses an iPad-like device to control the Sea Baby remotely. Malyuk highlighted 3 times the SBU has successfully used the Sea Baby. The first was an attack on an SIG oil tanker that Ukrainian officials say was carrying fuel for the Russian military. The second was a long-range strike against the Russian Navy amphibious assault ship Olengorskiy Gornyak, anchored just off the Russian naval port of Novorossisk on the eastern coast of the Black Sea. The third use of the Sea Baby was an attack on the Kerch Bridge on July 17th that caused damage to both the road and rail lanes of the bridge, and according to Russian officials, killed 2 civilians. SBU video shows the moments before the first Sea Baby hit one of the bridge's concrete support pillars and exploded. Another video shows a closed-circuit camera view of the second Sea Baby, which approached about 5 minutes later from the opposite side as the first one, exploding under the bridge's rail lane. Malyuk said the Sea Baby mission against the bridge was a joint operation with the Ukrainian Navy. The July 17th attack was the first by sea, but actually the second Ukrainian attack on the bridge since the war started. The first one happened on October 8th of last year and was conducted using a truck. The bridge was opened with much fanfare by Russian President Vladimir Putin in 2018 and is symbolic of his desire to take over Ukraine. It's also a vital supply link for Russian military operations in Crimea. These attacks are unnerving to Russian officials because they show just how vulnerable the bridge is, in spite of the fact it is heavily guarded by air patrols overhead and divers and even fighting dolphins underwater. The Russian propaganda machine immediately went to work after the attack. Sergei Asyanov, the head of Russian-occupied Crimea, said that a quote-unquote emergency had occurred on the bridge and that traffic on the bridge was suspended. Russian telegram channels reported that the bridge had quote-unquote collapsed. For their part, when the attack first happened, Ukraine was cryptic with the details, only confirming their involvement through anonymous statements and vague references to, quote, unidentified floating objects, end quote. Now Malyuk's direct claim of responsibility seems to signal Ukraine's intent to alert Moscow specifically to the threat these new drones pose, and more broadly the steps they're willing to take to disrupt Russian life in occupied regions. At the outset of the war, Russia planned on having sea superiority across the Black Sea, but that hasn't been the case. Their flagship, the Moskva, was sunk by a Ukrainian surface-to-surface missile, with the aid of American military targeting intelligence, by the way, and several other amphibious assault ships were attacked by UAVs in the port of Berdansk. Malyuk's recent remarks ended with a not-so-subtle threat. Quote, we are working on a number of new interesting operations, including in the Black Sea waters. I promise you it'll be exciting, especially for our enemies, end quote. And here's a fun fact. Malyuk's surname in Ukrainian means baby, and as a salute to him, they named these drones Sea Baby. All right, that'll do it for this episode. If you're not already a subscriber, become one so you don't miss anything going forward. If you'd like to help support the channel, please consider using the super thanks, the heart icon below, or become a patron at patreon.com/WardCarroll. And in the meantime, I look forward to talking to you again very soon.